Today we're going to be talking about the difference between what is and what should be, more specifically everything wrong with 922G. And if you don't know what 922G is, it's a felon in possession of a firearm. Today we'll be talking about a Supreme Court case, and because it takes me so long to make videos, likely caused by some sort of underlying birth defect and or learning disability, by the time this video drops, the Rami case, I think that's how you pronounce it, I'm not really sure, case could already be decided, but that won't change the facts of this video. But before we get started, be sure to support us at OnlyTacticalFans at Shopify.com, and just so you know, shopping at OnlyTacticalFans at Shopify.com will raise your experience points by at least 20%. And we want to max our levels out. I think we'll start off by discussing how the Supreme Court should decide the Rami case. It should be a slam dunk, no-brainer, unconstitutional ruling. And what I mean by that is 922G should be thrown out as bad law. And the reason is because if the Bruin standard says from a firearm law to be constitutional, it must have roots in the text, history, and tradition around the time of the founding of the Second Amendment, which was in the last 1700s. 922G was introduced in the mid-80s when the school of thought was you could legislate undesirables off the streets and incarcerate them, and 922G played a huge role in this because it allowed you to reincarcerate someone after releasing them. My husband tells me 1/3 of the people he's incarcerated with are there for guns. And as an American, your firearms are supposed to be constitutionally protected from the government's slimy little fingers. Shall not be infringed comes to mind, and the whole point is to prevent things like Nazi Germany from happening, because even in the 1700s, to take control of a population, it starts with a two-step process. Number 1, disarm the population. 2, control the food and starve them out, which is already happening right now. And step 2 is absolutely useless without completing step 1. So the Second Amendment was created to prevent number 1 from even getting off the ground, ensuring we'll never be ruled by a tyrannical government. Sorry I went off the rails for a minute, but it's important that you understand why we need to fight for the Second Amendment and why the 922G was one of the biggest blunders in American history. A couple of problems 922G faces. Number 1, if a person is too dangerous to own a firearm, why in the actual fuck were they released from prison in the first place? Do we really need to talk about 9/11 or Oklahoma City bombing? Yes, they are more rare than shootings, but that's just by dumb luck. Someday, that may not be the case, which is kind of fucked up to think about because it's a fact. IMO firearms are the lesser of two evils, because if someone truly wants to hurt a motherfucker, they will do it. And the other methods are a lot more indiscriminate, whereas a firearm is more deliberate. Number 2, this is kind of curricular logic, but it's true. If 922G was an effective deterrent, then there'd be next to nobody being charged with it. But when you look at the ATF stats, over 90% of what they arrest people for is 922G. No other crimes, just 922G itself. So we have an entire agency where it appears to be their sole purpose for existing is to pull people back into the system after being released. Thank you, not thank you, ATF. Now kindly go fuck yourselves and go back to tongue punching each other's fart boxes. IMO, the next biggest problem with the 922G is that it ensures you can never pay back your debts to society. Take my husband's case, for example, which is a glorified clerical error at worst and an honest mistake at best. Because of 922G, this stupid ass fucking mistake will be hung over his head for the rest of his life, making it impossible to ever be made whole again, with the exception he brings mama home a victory from appeals court or from SCOTUS. So let's pretend 922G is a BBC King ding-gangling law to rule all laws, and it actually worked to disarm people it's applied to. That still doesn't change the giant elephant cock looming in the room, and that is its application. And that giant prick is called the application of 922G because currently it's applied to everyone that's caught a felony charge or has an incarceration time of 366 days or longer, but it doesn't take into account where you live or what your actual charges are. Remember, you can get sentences of 366 days for felonies for really trivial reasons, such as pirating CDs, falsifying federal documents, and it gets so so much worse. But we'll just stop right there because I'm sure that you get the idea. Then location becomes an issue. There's a big difference between northern Alaska and south central LA. In Alaska, if you get 3 WIs and become a prohibited person, you can still use your crossbow or black powder to put food on the table. However, in south central LA, if you have to sit longer than a year for missing child support payments, you still need at minimum a pistol just to go to the grocery store to put food on the table. A crossbow and black powder simply ain't gonna cut it. If 922G is gonna stay on the books, the application needs to be decided on a case-by-case bias. The next big problem with 922G, the feds don't have jurisdiction to apply such a law. What I'd give to run the DeLorean up to 88 miles per hour, go back in time to 1986, bitch slap the congressman who suggested 922G in the first place, and bully him in front of his peers for not understanding the basic concept of jurisdiction and separation of powers. Fact of the matter is, even my tiny little lizard brain that spends 90% of its computing power thinking about super fucking cute kittens and fighter fighters understands the only way 922G can be applied federally and constitutionally is if that some prohibited person caught a federal charge and not a state charge and then carried that firearm across one or more state lines. Because in any other combination of circumstances, except for the aforementioned, it'd be a state matter and decision. For example, let's pretend the state of Wisconsin says that 3 DUIs is a felony charge, but the state of Minnesota decides they won't honor Wisconsin's decision. You could move to Minnesota and own a firearm. We're seeing the same thing happen with marijuana right now, but 922G strips the state's power to decide. Now that I've thoroughly sucked this topic to the point of climax, what does the money shot look like? The fact is, it's not even arguable. 922G is unconstitutional. Does that mean it'll be removed? Man, I wish, but I just don't know. But I do know that something will happen. Whether it's favorable or not, at this point, all we can do is puff out our ovaries and hope for the best. Now, if I were to guess what should happen, 922G will stay on the books, but with its power scaled back because all encompassing, even the most anti-gun X, Y, and Z would look at 922G as going too far because either them or a family member would eventually be affected by it. Because it's not stopping a dangerous person, it just reincarcerates everyone. So the fix was worse than the problem. I believe SCOTUS will force prosecutors to prove the person is a danger to themselves or anyone else in order to strip their firearm rights after incarcerating, which will more than likely be based on the nature of the charge. So I understand making a compromise with 922G is just as controversial as giving it up on the first date. What do I think? All jokes aside, 922G should be removed from the books and deemed unconstitutional. Shall not be infringed, pretty fucking clear. Sorry if my voice is like this, I'm sick and hopefully, I'm feeling a little bit better, but my voice is still like all messed up. Thank you guys all so much who sent my daughter and I Christmas gifts from the Amazon Christmas list. And if you guys like this video, don't forget to give it a thumbs up, comment, like, subscribe. And I know I've brought this up before, but just in case you didn't see those videos, because maybe there's new ones, I don't know. If you guys would like to write Matthew, here's all of his information here. Again, Matthew Hoover, his inmate ID is 83631-509 at FCI Thomson, P.O Box 1002, Thompson, Illinois 61285. And if you guys would like to continue to support me and my family, there'll be a bunch of links in the descriptions, like the Givesendgo, Amazon link, and I will see you guys next time. Peace. Today we're going to be talking about the difference between what... How am I supposed to take this serious? We might have to skip this part. 3, 2... Alright, let's try it again. Today, why? I had a drink of water. Today we're gonna be so long to make videos, likely caused by some sort of underlying glorified clicker, which is a glorified clicker